But let's say, for the sake of argument, that you want to go further, deeper into the occult, meaning the veiled territory beyond. Tarot as a psychic phenomenon is premised on an idea that didn't start with Anton Coeur de Gébelin, but was popularized by him in Western occultism. And that's the idea that all around us there are unseen magnetic forces, a collective force field that's magnetic in quality, which only our psychic mind can perceive, that sixth sense. Hermetic philosophy, Rosicrucianism, and later the Golden Dawn adopted this principle of the magnetic force field and pursued the idea of gaining control and command over that magnetic force field, which is symbolized by the lemniscate or infinity symbol, which you'll find throughout the esoteric decks from that period. Eliphas Levi expanded upon that idea of magnetic forces in his work and pointed to the Two of Coins in the Tarot de Marseille as emblematic of that force field and its complete influence over the material or earthly realm. That defining observation in Western occultism was later incorporated into other occult-based decks as well, namely the Rider-Waite-Smith and the Thoth Tarot. Tarot through the framework of occultism is also about acknowledging spirits, perhaps a personification of that magnetic force field. That's one way you could look at it, and that every occultist has a holy guardian angel, some way of connecting into that force field, who can be called upon to assist you in your endeavors because this holy guardian angel has a jurisdiction over your life path. Finally, occult practices of tarot are often heavily ritualized. So, for instance, invocations take place prior to starting a tarot reading, rather than construing signs and symbols in the cards as trigger points for revealing subconscious thought. These same signs and symbols are omens from your holy guardian angel or spirit, sending you divine revelations. That's divination in a nutshell. Divine revelations, in stark contrast to fortune telling, which isn't necessarily about a divine connection. Divination, as I'm going to define it, necessitates an intentional communion with the divine. Now, once again, let's revisit your tarot reading. We've considered what aspects of your past behavior is indicated by the first card you pulled. You've also now separately considered what aspects of your personality are being presented to you for self-reflection. Before moving on from this reading, also take the time to identify at least one actual life event that is exemplified by this card. Again, you can go off script, meaning forget the original question about gaining money in the next few months. Let your mind wander into past memories and identify how this card played out in your actual life path as it relates in some way to money matters in your world. Take a moment to consider the two contrasting sides of this card, the dark and the light. First, what message do you like about this card? For me, in the Five of Pentacles, I like the expression of the divine always watching over us, offering us warmth and sanctuary if only we'd see that fortress availed to us. It reminds me of that song, God Help the Outcasts, from the 90s movie Hunchback of Notre Dame. Now, consider any negative emotions that are triggered when you look at your card. Then probe further. Ask yourself, why do you dislike these facets of life? Don't just laugh and say, duh, everybody dislikes destitution. Forget everybody and focus on yourself. Forget social norms. What is it about this card that is so triggering for you specifically? Why? Why? Now let's begin the transition from exoteric to esoteric, crossing the threshold and beyond the boundary line of the physical and non-physical realms we dwell upon. This is the second card in your reading spread. It's in part a psychological algorithm, an analytical process where you're asking what if, and using what you know objectively through experience and acquired knowledge about cause and effect. What if you do nothing, meaning you don't change course? You stay with your ordinary impulses of behavior. What is the likely outcome of your financial track? sharing my own reading, I pulled the Temperance card. Okay, now on your end, hold up that second card of yours, gaze at it, scry into it, and follow along with my voice. Think of this card as a portal or gateway, and you are beginning to descend down, lower into a nether region of your own mind. And as you descend, how you perceive the physical world around you also changes. It goes from vision or sounds to feeling that vibrating magnetic force in the air all around you, pulsing against your skin. And you can feel it pulsing all around the top of your head, on your skull. This is the beginning steps to training your mind so you can walk between the worlds. One proverbial foot is still in the realm of the conscious and physical. You're still aware of what's going on around you, perceiving through your 5 physical senses. From that perception, examine this second card in your reading through the analytical process we talked about earlier. Now, figuratively, psychically, shift your weight over to the other proverbial foot, descended down and immersed in the waters of your mind, of spirit, and where you are right now in the physical world. Though you are above ground, your whole body feels like it's actually underwater. You feel as if you are trying to walk underwater, that pressure of a force all around you. That's the magnetic force field of spirit. With that feeling all upon you, see the card as language spoken by a divine spirit, your holy guardian angel, and hear the words. Receive the divinatory message of revelation. Turn your attention to your screen now and watch the screen. Feel yourself crossing the threshold, going deeper. The pressure of that magnetic force felt all around you, the way you feel when you're underwater, and with eyelids heavy, slightly drooping, your entire body in full calm, watch the screen. Now close your eyes and listen to the first message that sprouts at the top of your mind, right upon the crown. You may hear a whisper, it may be a vision. Let it download fully before you go on. Come, we're going back. We're returning now. Come, breathe in, breathe out, rise back up. Look around you, centered, back to waking. Look at your hands. Look around you. Breathe. Before the message leaves you, write it down, memorialize it. If I did my job right, then at this moment in your divination process, you're treading on a liminal space between that second card and third. The message or insight you received is somewhere you can't quite pinpoint, and yet it is wholly relevant to your inquiry. All right, now let's move on. Having fully crossed over that threshold into the occult, unseen realms, where the cards will now reveal to us the character of that magnetic force field and will be the language that our holy guardian angel speaks to us in, examine your third card. For my reading, it was the High Priestess. Look at your own card and through your psychic senses, yes, you have them and they are fully receptive now that you've crossed the threshold. And through those psychic senses, observe what the divine entity who has appeared before you looks like. In the way you observe someone with your physical senses upon first impression, observe this divine entity with your psychic senses and begin writing down your impressions. Write in a way that feels channeled. What do you see? Do you hear anything? How do you feel? Through one single sign or symbol in the card, or maybe it's through the eyes of a now animated figure depicted on the card, or perhaps it's the archetypal totality of the card before you. Your holy guardian angel has come through. Now float back up a bit to the surface of your conscious mind and examine the card within the context of the tarot reading again. What energy must be modified in order for you to increase your financial gains this quarter? Your holy guardian angel, through this specific card, is sending you a message answering this question. So now study the correspondences. This may take some intermediate level knowledge of the tarot, but don't worry, if you're a novice, I'll provide some correspondence reference charts for you to work from. It's part of your course materials. Here, think about astrology, numerology, elementals, and call upon any established system or tradition of esoteric knowledge availed to you, whether that's the Kabbalah, the I Ching, Hermeticism, color symbolism, as above, so below, as within, so without. Everything is connected, so observe everything. Now, here, just listen and take note. In future applications of this reading technique, even if you're not using this specific spread we're practicing on, if you're examining a card through an occult lens, then consider what spirit entity might be indicated by the card that you can then subsequently petition or work with to help you manifest what it is you want to manifest, to help you change the dynamics of the status quo. Also, the metaphysical correspondences, the elementals, the phase, the astrological indications, all of these correspondences in the card are divinatory insights into how you can petition that spirit, amplify its presence in your life. In the example of the High Priestess, I might consider the waxing crescent moon phase, assuming this is the specific imagery presented to me in my tarot card. Or look into working with the middle pillar in the Kabbalistic tree of life, perhaps through path working or astral projection to meet with that spirit entity. As Golden Dawn ceremonial magicians Chick and Tabitha Cicero have noted, harnessing the powers from the middle pillar can awaken the Sephiroth within.